Now these are the examples that are going to go along with the notes that I gave you for the first part of 2.1 and 2.2. Now I put all the examples just kind of on one sheet, and what I'm going to do is work them out individually on a separate sheet of paper. So you may want to do that. Just rewrite the problem so that you can have it with you. Okay, so I'm going to start with A, which says to solve x plus 7 is equal to 10. Okay, think back and look at the list of steps that I gave you on the previous video. Okay, step 1 says remove any fractions. Well, we don't have any. Step 2 says clear parentheses, but you don't have any here. And then step 3 says simplify each side of the equation. So what I'm going to do is cover up and look at the left side. And so do I have like terms? No. Okay. Only one term on the other side, so that step is done. Step 4 says use the addition property to move all of the variables to one side. Well, you only have one variable term, okay, so wherever your variable is, I would pretty much keep it there, okay. Use your equal sign to kind of separate everything. So keep my x where it is, and keep my 10 where it is. And I want to move the 7. The 7 needs to be on the same side of the equal sign as the 10. So if it's a positive, how do I move it? Okay, what I'm actually doing is subtracting the 7. And so what I try to tell my students is think about it as moving it over. If you move anything across this equal sign, then the sign will always change. Okay, and it's because I'm actually having to come in and subtract 7, but I don't want to write that underneath. I just want to see this straight across. So I've moved this 7 over, and so now it's a negative. Then we simplify, so I have x is equal to 10 minus 7 would be 3. Then I look at step 5. It says divide by the coefficient of the variable. Well, what's the coefficient of x? Understood 1. So if it's a 1, you do not have to divide. This is your answer. This is your solution. X is equal to 3. Then step 6 says to check. Okay, I'm not going to require that you check every single problem, but it is a good idea if you're not sure just to know that you can go back to the original problem, plug in the answer that you get for the variable. So if I plug in a 3, and just check to see, is that going to equal out? Okay, so 3 plus 7 is 10, and 10 is equal to 10. So if it checks, I know that my answer is correct. Okay, so we know they're not all going to stay this simple. That's why I try to give you the long list of the different examples that you could use. Hopefully I've given you one of each kind. Okay, if we look at B, it says to solve x minus 2 is equal to negative 4. Okay, so again, I only have one variable. I'm not going to go through every list of the steps. We don't have fractions, we don't have parentheses, we don't have like terms. So I'm to the step where I want variables on one side, numbers on the other. So I already have a negative 4 here. I'm going to be moving this negative 2. So how do I move it? Okay, by adding, always by doing the opposite operation. So if I move the 2 over to the right, it's going to be a positive 2. Okay, remember I said when you move anything across the equal sign, it always changes the sign. So I end up with x is equal to negative 4 plus 2, which is negative 2. We do not have to divide because of the understood 1 that's in front of the x. And then we could check this. If I go back, x minus 2 is equal to negative 4. If I plug in a negative 2 in the place of x, negative 2 and negative 2 would be negative 4. Negative 4 is equal to negative 4. So that checks. So we know that that's correct. C is negative 11 is equal to 3 plus x. Okay, again, same thing. No fractions, no parentheses, no like terms. I only have one variable term, so I'm going to keep it where it is. Okay, I just have an x right there. So that means which number do I need to move? Okay, I would move the 3. It's a positive. When I move it over, it's going to be a negative. So I already have a negative 11. I'm going to move the 3 over, and it's going to be negative. Okay, when I move it across, it's going to change the sign. X is the only variable. Bring it down. Combine these. Negative 3 and negative 11 would be negative 14. Understood 1 in front of the x, so this would be my solution. Okay, and then D is exactly like this problem, very similar. We have negative 8 is equal to 8 plus z, and I always write my z's like this so I don't get it confused with a 2. So if you see that, that's all it is. That's just how I write my z. So again, you have to look at, well, which number would I want to move? If I want to get z by itself, because that's always your goal, to get your variable by itself. So bring down the z. It means I'm going to have to move this positive 8 over. I already have a negative 8 that I'm going to bring down. This 8 is going to be brought over. If it's positive here, then when I bring it over, it will be negative. So I have a negative 8 and a negative 8. Negative 16, when we combine, is equal to z. Understood 1 in front of the z lets me know that I'm finished right here. Okay, that would be my solution.